Welcome back, everyone, to the miseducation of everything black. I am Chase the Truth. This is the third and final installment of our Indoctrination of Black History series. So let's jump right into it. At this point, we all know what the problem is. The problem is that we have been indoctrinated to view history with horse blinders. We have been conditioned to view history from the eyes of people of no color. Once again, this effort to distort history has been accomplished by people of no color for centuries here in this country and in Africa. As an example, on the last episode, we discussed how in Niger, children attending schools in Niger are taught in their textbooks that it was Scottish explorer Mungo Park who discovered the Niger River. Children in Niger are being taught that it was a person of no color that discovered the Niger River that lies in Niger. Here in this country, we're taught that we were slaves rather than the truth, which is people of no color collectively deciding that a good prerequisite for slavery was simply being black. The indoctrination continues even today. I know that you've either heard on the news or social media that it was the 1994 crime bill that led to the mass incarceration of African Americans, which is a distorted truth or an alternative fact. People of no color still refuse to accept the truth that the more freedom blacks are given in this country, the higher the prison population goes. People of no color do not want blacks to be free. They don't believe that we are equal. Elite people of no color will always look for ways to keep blacks enslaved. Prisons weren't even created until 1865, the same year slavery was abolished. Blacks were then forced to pay taxes with no money, and then they were jailed just for simply being black. If you also caught in the last episode, this is the exact same play people of no color would use against blacks in Africa in their attempts to colonize them. The prison population at the height of the KKK in 1925 was 91,669. From blacks being free in 1865 to 1925, the prison population after prisons even being created only some 50 years ago. The prison population was already 91,000. 8 years later, in 1933, FDR's New Deal provided a pathway for people of no color to obtain wealth through home ownership that excluded many blacks. However, a part of the New Deal did provide more social help for African American families from the federal government. And because of that help, 3 years later in 1936, the prison population jumped to 145,000. In 8 years, the prison population jumped over 50,000. Then in 1954, the Supreme Court effectively ends segregation in schools, and right on schedule, the prison population jumps another 40,000 to 182,000. 3 years later, Eisenhower signs the Civil Rights Act of 1957, ending suppression of black voters, and this, of course, pissed off people of no color because the prison population jumped over 20,000 to 205,000. Now, here's where things get real. The height of the civil rights movement was from 1964 to 1968, and the prison population was at its lowest of 187,000, which is, as you know, really pissed off people of no color beyond belief. Because in the next 20 years, from the prison population being at its very lowest following civil rights, that in 1988 the prison population would jump to well over 603,000. So following civil rights, the prison population has increased by over 500% in 1993, prior to the crime bill even being passed, only 5 years after the year of 1988, the prison population increased by another 300,000 and had reached 900,000. So prior to the crime bill being passed, mass incarceration of African Americans was already a problem. It's the fact that elite people of no color don't like seeing blacks free. Indoctrination is a powerful tool people of no color use to attempt to control blacks. We know this to be true, so what now? In the last episode, I left you with a cliffhanger by asking what can be done to change things around for blacks here in this country and in Africa. The cliffhanger I left you with gave the answer of China and the USA. Can China and the USA help turn things around for blacks here in the States and in Africa? The answer is absolutely yes. So let's start with China. China is a communist country that has a long storied history and has had many successes and failures throughout the years, like any other country that's ever existed. Before we discuss how China can help turn things around, let's revisit a few truths. First, we know that people of no color have been raping Africa for years. We discussed in the last episode how Africans have always been under the thumb of people of no color since the Berlin Conference of 1884. Even after colonialism ended, people of no color have used the IMF and the World Bank to continue to steal from Africa. Now, this is where China becomes an ally of sorts. Since 2009, nations in Africa, along with the AU, year after year, have strengthened their relationships with China and have become strong partners of sorts. In 2018, delegates from African nations met with Chinese delegates at a forum on a China-Africa cooperation. That same year, China announced that $60 billion in financial support would be given to several African nations. China, consequently, is buying raw materials from African nations, instead of stealing the materials from African nations like so many people of no color have been doing for centuries. The Chinese see an opportunity to help victimized nations in Africa by giving them actual money in exchange for their raw materials, which China then uses to fuel its own economy. Africa is estimated to contain 90% of the entire world supply of platinum and cobalt, half of the world's supply of gold, and 35% of the world's uranium. It also accounts for nearly 75% of the world's coltan, an important mineral used in electronic devices including cell phones. So as you can see, China is undercutting people of no color by initiating an actual trade with Africa. China then can produce more products at a cheaper rate. So with China being able to produce more of the world at a cheaper rate, this prompts more companies to move their factories over to China. Factories are moving overseas because Africa slowly has begun to cut off the gravy train to people of no color. Before, when people of no color were stealing from Africa, it was cheap for people of no color to produce things in their own countries. But once again, Africa decided to do more with China because China wasn't necessarily raping them. Then people of no color decided to focus more on China, which is why we're in this current trade war that was started in 2018, the same year that China pledged $60 billion in Africa. Instead of building better relationships with Africa, this current president decides to call them shithole countries, not realizing everything we need and enjoy comes from those same shithole countries who are doing more and more business with China. The current trade war that is going on isn't about China, it's about Africa. I love providing you guys with facts that may blow your mind or make you really think. So here's another one. China has also been expanding its military presence into Africa by providing military equipment and investment as well. This president, who didn't initially disclose this here in this country, has also been discussing military investment agreements with China as part of the trade negotiations. The president of China also started the One Belt Road project. Now, I won't get in too much up to the project, but part of the project does deal with Africa. It's called the Maritime Silk Road, which is a sea-based operation that will expect to connect China's southern east coast to the Mediterranean, Southeast Asia, Central Asia, which all will be connected to Africa. Once again, the trade war and tariffs that the president of this country has initiated is all because this is something that was not created nor benefits people of no color in this country. China is actually helping Africa grow and becoming more independent. Once again, elite people of no color don't want to see blacks free. This is why China is so important in the fight for Africa to become more independent and truly free of colonialism. 14 African nations give 400 billion euros to France every year. Millions of Africans died in World War I and World War II for nations that they had never even been to. People of no color enslaved blacks, and now the Chinese are providing them with another option that is allowing them to flourish. Now, I will put in a tad little caveat here, and that is, should the Chinese be trusted? Absolutely not. But as you can see, what this has started for Africa is a bidding war, which puts Africa in control, which is why China is so essential for really evening things out for Africa, to really put Africa back in its rightful place. Which brings us to the next piece. How can the USA help turn things around? Better question, can the USA help turn things around? The answer is absolutely yes. However, the USA I'm referring to is not the United States of America. No. We've already seen and know that the United States of America has become more of the problem rather than the solution. The USA I'm referring to is the United States of Africa. Do you know that it takes 38 visas to travel in Africa? If a person in Nigeria wanted to travel, they would need almost 30 visas to travel all over Africa. Here, we only need a passport to go to Mexico or Canada. Germans, Belgians, the French, the English, the Spaniards only need passports to travel all over Europe. But because of the effects of colonialism, it's easier for Americans and Europeans to travel in Africa than it is for Africans. It's easier for African nations to trade with their colonial oppressors than it is for Africans to trade with their own neighboring nation. Part of the reason the US is so profitable is because we're allowed to buy and sell products in any state. We can spend money in any state. Our money is good in Florida, Texas, or California. Same thing in Europe. Germans can buy and sell things in Germany, Spain, Switzerland, Poland, Austria, or Belgium. I'll remind you that people of no color split Africa into over 50 countries. I stated in the last episode, this was done on purpose. It's so difficult for African nations to trade and travel and grow their economies because people of no color by design wanted to ensure Africa would not succeed. The United States of Africa would allow Africans to travel and therefore allow economies to grow and flourish along with ideas and innovations. The United States of Africa has been a dream for many Africans. Most recently, it was reintroduced in 2009 when Gaddafi had proposed that year to all African leaders that they should have a single Africa with a single currency and single passports for Africans to move around freely. He was killed in 2011. Robert Mugabe picked up the mantle and pushed a single Africa and even supported the idea of extending the federation to Haiti, Jamaica, the Bahamas, and the Dominican Republic. He died in 2019. This year, as of 2020, 52 nations, including South Africa, have signed and agreed to the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. This should and will propel Africans into agreeing to one day becoming the USA, the United States of Africa. A more united Africa is a more prosperous Africa. I mentioned several times before that Africa was intentionally split into over 50 nations by design. United we stand, divided we fall is the game plan that has allowed people of no color to pick off individual African nations and rape them for so many of their resources. It's difficult for a country like Senegal or Sierra Leone to go on the world stage and negotiate with countries like England, Germany, Spain, Russia, or the United States. However, the United States of Africa, speaking with one voice, is able to speak loudly on the world stage. Not only would it increase trade, not only would it increase the economy and prosperity of Africans, but it would also do wonders for blacks all over the world, including this country. We all know that racism is alive and well kicking here in this country of the United States. Laws don't work. Slavery has been abolished in this country since 1865. Every time in this country when blacks get freedom or equality, the prison population increases. Blacks are repeatedly being shot in the back by people of no color wearing a police uniform. The United States of Africa would effectively control over 70% of the world's precious raw materials. Can you imagine an Africa with one voice speaking to other nations? Hey, we're watching. Having a one Africa that is rich and powerful would greatly tilt the scales of equality. Both the United States of Africa and China together can help begin writing a new chapter of prosperity and economic growth that Africa both needs and deserves. This is why we, as blacks here in this country and the United States, need to support Africa at all costs. By supporting the people in this country who support the efforts of an economically strong Africa, rather than someone who refers to Africans as coming from shithole countries. The same shithole countries that the United States, along with Europe, have raped all of its natural resources for over a century. We should be supporting a person who wants to end the tariffs and create a trade deal with China that will benefit Africa, because once again, this current trade deal is more about Africa than anything else. Throughout this entire series, we've discussed and uncovered a lot about how indoctrinated we become to the history that people of no color have shoved down our throats. It seems that the battle and the fight for equality has been going on since the 1600s. I don't know if it's just me, or maybe you've asked yourself the same question, but why? Why has there been so much conflict? Why has there been so much friction between people of no color and blacks over the centuries? While relations between blacks and people of no color have begun to get better, there's always been that conflict. No matter how good things get, no matter how progressive things become, there always seems to be that white elephant in the room. I know you feel it. I know you understand that feeling that you just can't touch, but you know it's there, and it gives you just an unnerving, unsettling feeling throughout your body. You don't know exactly what it is, but you know it's there. It's something that's just not fitting. This is how I feel best describes the 500-year conflict between blacks and people of no color. Which brings us to the next 3-part series titled The Mutation. I debated with myself on if morally or ethically I'd be right to have this type of conversation in this current climate, and ultimately, I felt that this was the best time to have a conversation on race. I assure you, this next series will shock you, and by the end, you'll start questioning everything you know or you think you know about race. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for joining me in this journey we continue as we discuss topics and mistruths that affect the black community here in this country and around the world. I am Chase the Truth, and we'll see you again here next time on the Miseducation of Everything Black.